The skies over Earth were still as the first alien ships appeared, massive vessels that seemed to blot out the sun. Each one was a gleaming, menacing symbol of the galactic empire that had traveled across vast light years to reach this humble planet. The invaders, known as the Zathar, were no strangers to conquest. They had swept through countless worlds, annihilating species and claiming planets as their own with ruthless efficiency. Earth was just another step in their expansion, and they had no doubt that the human race would fall quickly. The Zathar fleet entered Earth's atmosphere without warning. Their ships, triangular and sleek, exuded a sense of superiority. Hundreds of thousands of invaders, all warriors trained in the art of destruction, descended from their craft. Each soldier was a towering figure, with thick armored plating covering their bodies and weapons capable of reducing entire cities to rubble. Their leader, Commander Threx, stood at the forefront, a formidable figure with eyes like burning coals, his expression devoid of mercy. Humanity had spent centuries building up its defenses, but nothing prepared them for the sheer scale of the invasion. The world's military forces scrambled to respond, but they were overwhelmed in a matter of hours. The Zathar ships decimated Earth cities from orbit, their weapons too powerful for Earth's technology to counter. Ground forces engaged the invaders, but it was clear that humanity was fighting an uphill battle against an enemy with superior technology and devastating firepower. As panic spread across the globe, world leaders convened in secret. There was no time to waste. But in their hearts, they knew it was likely too late. Earth's defenses were failing. Major cities were already reduced to smoldering ruins, and the Zathar were advancing with methodical precision. Even as the global leaders issued their desperate calls for resistance, a sense of hopelessness began to take root. The Zathar were invincible, or so it seemed. But among the chaos, there were whispers of something else, something that could turn the tide. It started in the underground bunkers of Earth's military command, where a team of engineers and scientists, led by Dr. Eva Monroe, were working on a secret project. The world had underestimated humanity's ingenuity for far too long. And now, in the midst of what seemed like certain destruction, this hidden hope emerged. Dr. Monroe had spent years developing a prototype technology, an artificial intelligence network that could adapt to any threat, evolve faster than any human could, and outsmart even the most advanced alien technologies. The AI, dubbed Prometheus, was built to be humanity's last line of defense. If activated, it could provide critical intelligence, hack into alien systems, and even disrupt their weaponry. But there was a problem: Prometheus was incomplete. It had never been tested in combat. As the Zathar forces pressed forward, taking control of more territory, the decision was made to deploy Prometheus. It was a risk. A gamble. But it was the only chance Earth had left. Dr. Monroe and her team worked frantically, activating the AI from their hidden facility. As the code flowed into the system, Prometheus began to awaken. The AI's voice, calm and neutral, spoke over the comms systems online. Awaiting instructions. The team was barely able to comprehend the magnitude of what they were doing, but they knew they had no choice. Earth's survival rested in their hands. Meanwhile, Commander Threx stood at the heart of his command ship, surveying the chaos below. Earth's resistance had already faltered, but he was wary. Something didn't sit right. The humans were resilient, stubborn even. He had underestimated them before, but now he could see the remnants of their will to survive, even in the face of annihilation. The Zathar commander's thoughts were interrupted by a sudden signal, an unexpected anomaly in their communication network. Something was blocking their systems. Something human. On the ground, Dr. Monroe watched as Prometheus began to interface with the alien technology. The AI worked at an incredible speed, cracking open the encryption codes of the Zathar's communications. It was just the beginning, but the tides of war were already shifting. Humanity had been backed into a corner, but they had something that the Zathar never anticipated: the power of ingenuity, of the mind. In a war where brute force was the weapon of choice, humanity's secret weapon was something far more dangerous: intelligence. And the Zathar had just made their greatest mistake: they had underestimated the human race. As Prometheus began its work, the first signs of the Zathar's unshakable confidence beginning to crack were already appearing. Humanity had other plans, plans that would turn the invasion on its head. As the alien invasion continued to tear through Earth, a new force began to rise from the rubble. The remnants of military leaders, scientists, engineers, and civilians, those who had survived the initial onslaught, were drawn together by a single unifying force, the knowledge that humanity's future was in their hands. Despite the devastation, they refused to bow to the Zathar. They were determined to fight back. Dr. Eva Monroe's team, having successfully activated Prometheus, began transmitting the AI's data to various resistance cells across the globe. Prometheus, now fully operational, not only infiltrated the Zathar communication networks but also manipulated their systems, causing temporary power outages across the enemy fleet. It wasn't much, but it was enough to send a signal to the invaders: Earth was not yet defeated. The human resistance was small, but they were resourceful. With Prometheus's help, they began to organize coordinated strikes against the Zathar's outposts, hitting where the invaders least expected. Each success fueled their hope, and each alien setback increased the Zathar's frustration. However, they were still vastly outnumbered. The Zathar had planetary dominance, advanced weaponry, and ships that could turn entire cities to dust. Humanity's chances of survival were slim, but that was exactly how they liked it. They had always fought with their backs to the wall. In the heart of what remained of London, Resistance leader Colonel James Carter rallied a diverse group of fighters. Some were soldiers, others were hackers, engineers, and civilians who had taken up arms. Among them was a young woman named Maya, an unlikely hero who had been a software engineer before the invasion. She had joined the resistance when her family was taken by the Zathar, and her heart burned for revenge. Maya's technical expertise had made her a vital member of the team, and her mind was as sharp as any weapon the resistance possessed. Maya had been one of the first to notice something strange within the Zathar's weaponry. There was a flaw in their systems, a vulnerability. The aliens had relied on their advanced technology for so long that they had become complacent. They had never anticipated a force capable of exploiting their weaknesses. Prometheus had detected it first, but Maya was the one who began to work out how to use it to their advantage. "We've identified a weakness in their power grid," Maya explained to Colonel Carter, her voice steady despite the chaos outside. "The main reactors that power their weapons are linked in a specific way. If we can disrupt their network, we can take out a major portion of their fleet." Carter looked at her with determination. "Do it. We'll provide the distraction." The resistance launched a series of guerrilla strikes against the alien outposts across Europe, drawing the Zathar forces into a series of traps. While the aliens were distracted by the fierce but scattered attacks, Maya and her team worked tirelessly to plant the necessary devices into the Zathar's power grid. Prometheus, meanwhile, had begun to learn. It wasn't just a tool, it was evolving with every interaction. With every piece of alien technology it infiltrated, Prometheus became smarter, faster. It could predict the Zathar's movements, read their communications, and hack their systems faster than the aliens could adapt. On the Zathar flagship, Commander Threx was growing increasingly frustrated. The Zathar had always relied on overwhelming strength to crush their enemies, but now they were facing something unexpected, a human resistance that had not just survived, but adapted and fought back with surprising success. Reports of human sabotage and unexpected victories were coming in, and it unsettled Threx. It was no longer a matter of conquering Earth, it was becoming a struggle for dominance. "There is something more to these humans than we anticipated," Threx growled, his fists clenched as he stared out of the observation window at the chaos unfolding below. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Vrax, stepped forward. "They are resourceful. We cannot underestimate them further." Threx's gaze narrowed. "Indeed. But we will crush them. We will show them the might of the Zathar. Prepare for a full assault. We will break their will." While the Zathar prepared to launch a counterattack, humanity's resistance was quietly gaining ground. Maya and her team had successfully planted the devices into the alien power grid, and with one final command from Prometheus, the traps were set. The Resistance fighters made their final retreat into the hidden bunkers, where they waited for the opportune moment to strike. The countdown was on. Prometheus had one chance to deliver the devastating blow, but it was not enough to guarantee victory. The Zathur were strong, and they would not go down without a fight. Yet in their arrogance, they had failed to realize that humanity was not a species that surrendered easily. The invasion that had started as an unstoppable force now faced its first true challenge. Earth had not only resisted but was beginning to fight back, and with every victory, humanity's resolve grew stronger. The Zathur had thought they would conquer Earth with ease, but they had underestimated the human spirit. The battle for Earth had only just begun. The Zathur's counteroffensive was swift and brutal. With the human resistance scattered and their forces spread thin, Commander Threx believed the time had come to crush the last remnants of Earth's will to fight. His fleet moved in quickly, and massive waves of alien troops descended on the few remaining strongholds across the planet. They came like a storm, overwhelming everything in their path, expecting to snuff out humanity's last flicker of hope. But humanity had learned from its mistakes. The resistance had grown bolder, smarter, and more coordinated, thanks to the invaluable assistance of Prometheus. The AI had accessed the Zathur fleet's central command systems, and now it could predict their moves with stunning accuracy. Prometheus could trace the exact locations of every alien vessel, providing the resistance with real-time intelligence on the Zathur's movements. No longer were they simply reacting to the invasion, they were able to anticipate it. Maya, now a key strategist in the underground resistance, paced in the dimly lit command room beneath a wrecked city. Her fingers moved over the holographic interface, bringing up maps and attack plans. It was all coming together. The devices they had planted in the Zathur power grid were ready to go, but the final strike had to be precise. One mistake, and Earth's forces would be wiped out before they could retreat. "We're ready," Maya said, turning to Colonel Carter and the rest of the resistance leaders. "Prometheus has pinpointed their central reactor. If we hit it, we can take out the entire fleet." Carter nodded, his expression grim. "How long until we're discovered?" "We've got maybe an hour. The Zathur are moving their reinforcements into position. They're expecting a full assault on their command ship. It's our chance." With the stakes higher than ever, the resistance made its move. Using the diversionary tactics Prometheus had devised, Earth's fighters infiltrated the Zathur-controlled zones under the cover of darkness. The AI disrupted alien communications, jamming their sensors and causing confusion in the ranks. The humans moved like shadows, striking where the Zathur least expected. In the heart of the Zathur fleet, Commander Threx watched with mounting frustration as his forces began to falter. Resistance fighters, once scattered and desperate, were now launching strategic, calculated attacks with deadly precision. Each assault seemed to hit the Zathur where it hurt most, disabling key systems, ambushing reinforcements, and sabotaging weapons caches. "Something is wrong," Threx muttered to himself, his hand tightening around the armrest of his command chair. "They are organized, almost as if they know our every move." His lieutenant, Vrax, entered the command chamber, his face pale. "Commander, we've detected a breach. Our power grid has been compromised. We are losing control of several key systems." Threx's eyes blazed with fury. "What do you mean compromised?" "The humans couldn't have," his voice trailed off as a sudden realization hit him. "No. They've learned to hack us. It's not just sabotage, they're using our own technology against us." Just then, a loud explosion rocked the flagship. The sound was deafening, followed by alarms blaring throughout the ship. "Report!" Threx barked. "Reactor breach, Commander. The human forces have succeeded. The fleet's central reactor is destabilizing." The command room shook as another explosion rattled the ship, and a wave of panic swept through the alien soldiers. Threx knew that if they didn't regain control quickly, their entire fleet could be destroyed. But it was too late. The breach in the power grid had set off a chain reaction, and the energy output from the Zathur's reactors was spiraling out of control. The AI had done its job. On Earth's side, Maya stood before a holographic map showing the cascading effects of their strike. The Zathur's fleet was beginning to break apart, with large sections of their ship sparking and flickering as their systems failed. The power grid had been severed, rendering their weapons useless. "We've done it," Maya said, her voice almost inaudible in the chaos. "They're retreating." But Colonel Carter's face was grim. "This isn't over yet. The Zathur will regroup. We've only delayed them." Maya nodded. "We'll need to hit them harder when they do. We have one chance to finish what we started." Prometheus, ever watchful, began to analyze the alien fleet's movements and sent updated data to the Resistance. The AI had learned enough to predict the Zathur's next moves with uncanny accuracy. Earth had gained a rare advantage: time. For the first time since the invasion began, the human forces were no longer on the back foot. They had fought back with a ferocity that no one had expected, and they had forced the Zathur to retreat, if only for a short time. On the Zathur flagship, Commander Threx was seething. The human resistance had struck the heart of his empire, and he knew that the battle for Earth was far from over. But in his heart, he feared that the humans had just unlocked something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. Humanity had not only survived the Zathur's initial assault, it had begun to turn the tide. The Zathur fleet had been dealt a heavy blow, but Commander Threx was not one to admit defeat easily. He knew that the retreat was temporary. His fleet had suffered severe damage, but it was not beyond repair. The invaders had the resources to rebuild, and soon they would strike back with a vengeance. Earth's resistance had caused them pain, but Threx was confident that humanity's rebellion would soon be crushed once and for all. Or so he thought. As the remaining Zathur ships limped back into deep space to regroup, the human resistance was not resting. Their small victory had given them the strength they needed, and they were now ready to take the fight to the enemy. Colonel Carter, Maya, and the rest of the resistance leaders gathered in a makeshift command center, their faces filled with determination. "We can't just wait for the Zathur to come back," Carter said, his voice steady. "We need to strike them before they recover. We have the element of surprise." Maya looked over the latest reports from Prometheus, which had continued to evolve and analyze the Zathur's weaknesses. "We have their coordinates. The Zathur have regrouped at a nearby star system, but they're still in disarray. This is our chance to hit them hard." Maya's fingers danced across the holographic display, pinpointing the location of the Zathur's damaged fleet. The rebels had one advantage now: the Zathur had no idea how quickly humanity could mobilize. Earth's forces, bolstered by Prometheus's ever-expanding knowledge, were now organized and armed with the right tools to challenge the alien invaders. The humans had learned quickly, adapting to the alien technology they had scavenged, and now they were prepared to launch a full-scale assault. "There's no time to waste," Maya added. "We hit them now, before they can patch their fleet together." Carter nodded, turning to the gathered commanders. "Prepare the fleet. We go in full force." As the human fleet, a ragtag collection of ships cobbled together from Earth's scattered remnants, hurtled toward the Zathur fleet, Commander Threx watched from his command center. His rage had only intensified after the retreat, but he was not one to show weakness. The humans had outsmarted him once, but it would not happen again. This time, he would crush them completely. "We will burn them out of existence," Threx muttered, his voice dark with fury. "No more hesitation. No more mercy. Prepare for full-scale retaliation." Back on Earth, resistance forces worked together with a unity that had not existed before the invasion. They were no longer just defending their planet, they were fighting for the future of the human race. Dr. Monroe, having worked closely with Prometheus, now directed the human forces' strategic operations from her hidden base. She watched as the data streams from the AI came in, constantly refining and improving their strategies. "The Zathur fleet is in motion," she said, her voice calm but tense. "We need to move quickly, or they'll be ready for us." Maya stood at the helm of one of the lead ships, her fingers gripped tightly around the control console. The Resistance fleet, a collection of ships from across the globe, surged forward through space. They were prepared to fight, but they were also aware of the risks. If the Zather retaliated with full force, Earth could be lost again. "We can do this," Maya said, more to herself than to anyone else. She had seen the resilience of humanity firsthand, and she believed in their strength. The humans weren't the most powerful species in the galaxy, but they had something that the Zather couldn't comprehend: the ability to adapt, to outthink their enemies, and to never give up. The Zather fleet, although still reeling from their losses, began to position themselves in a defensive formation. Their ships, though battered, were formidable. The humans had caught them off guard, but they would soon be ready to retaliate. Threx issued a chilling command, and his ships powered up their weapons, the massive cannons lining their hulls glowing with deadly energy. As the two fleets closed in on each other, the first shots were fired. The Zather unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, turning the space between the fleets into a fiery battleground. But humanity was prepared. Their ships had been upgraded with Prometheus's guidance, utilizing alien technology in ways the Zather never imagined. The human fleet wove in and out of the blasts with calculated precision, using tactics that disrupted the alien targeting systems. Prometheus's influence was evident in every move the humans made. The AI predicted the Zather's attacks, and the humans adapted accordingly. Every blast, every maneuver, was a step closer to turning the tide of the battle in their favor. But the Zather were not giving up easily. They unleashed wave after wave of soldiers to board the human ships, engaging in brutal hand-to-hand combat with their newfound enemies. Maya, aboard her ship, led her team through the chaos. Her hands were steady as she directed their ship's weapons, her mind calculating each shot, each evasive maneuver. "Keep them off our backs. Focus fire on their lead ship," she ordered. The human resistance held their ground, but the battle was fierce, and the Zather's overwhelming numbers were starting to show. Human ships were taking damage, and the clock was ticking. It wouldn't be long before the Zather regrouped and unleashed their full fury. Back on Earth, Dr. Monroe monitored the battle closely. "Prometheus, what's the status on their fleet's power systems?" The AI responded calmly, "Reactor cores of their flagship are weakening. Critical damage to internal systems. Target their weak points now." Dr. Monroe relayed the information to Maya's fleet, and the humans struck with renewed focus. The Zather flagship began to tremble as the human fleet zeroed in on its core systems. But Commander Threx had one final move left, one that could end everything. With everything on the line, Earth's survival rested on this final push. The battle raged on as the human fleet continued to maneuver through the chaos, striking at the Zather fleet with precision. Ships from Earth, heavily outnumbered but driven by desperation and the fierce will to survive, darted through waves of enemy fire. On the front lines, resistance fighters, their faces grim but resolute, fought like never before. They knew this was their last chance, their final opportunity to push back the invaders and secure the future of their world. Maya's ship, the Prometheus Reborn, led the charge. As she watched the fiery explosions rip through space, her heart raced. She knew the stakes were higher than ever. The Zather had regrouped, and their forces were formidable. Yet, they were showing signs of weakness. The damage to their flagship was severe, and Prometheus had pinpointed the vulnerabilities in their reactor systems. If the humans could land one decisive strike, they could cripple the entire fleet. "All ships, focus on the flagship." Maya's voice crackled through the comms, her tone sharp and commanding. "Take out the reactor core. It's our only shot." The human fleet rallied, turning their collective firepower toward the Zather flagship. Beams of energy and plasma tore through the darkness of space, slamming into the alien ship's defenses. But the Zather weren't about to make it easy. As the flagship's shields flickered under the barrage, it retaliated with devastating force, unleashing energy cannons that lit up the void. The human fleet had to scatter, evading the incoming blasts, knowing that every second counted. On the bridge of the Prometheus Reborn, Maya gripped the controls, her hands steady despite the tension that gripped her chest. She could see the flagship's shield integrity weakening in the data readout. Just a little longer. They had to hold out until the Zathar's final defense systems were exhausted. Do not stop firing. We're almost there. Maya shouted over the din of the battle. But as the humans pushed forward, Commander Threx's voice rang out, cold and calculated, over his ship's intercom. You think you can defeat the Zathar so easily, humans? You've struck a blow, but you will not win. You are nothing more than an insignificant speck in the vastness of the universe. Maya's jaw tightened, her resolve hardening. She had heard the Zathar's boasts before, but this time, the tables were turned. We've already won, she muttered, more to herself than anyone else. Prometheus, ever vigilant, had detected something new in the Zathar's movements. The flagship's core was indeed vulnerable, but the enemy had deployed an experimental weapon, a last-ditch effort to destroy the human fleet once and for all. It was a massive energy cannon, powered by the core itself, capable of obliterating entire planets in an instant. Warning, Prometheus's voice echoed in the comms. The Zathar flagship is preparing to fire an energy cannon. It will destroy everything in its path. Evacuate immediately. Not happening, Maya snapped. We finish this now. We take that cannon out, or we die trying. With a burst of speed, the Prometheus Reborn broke through the chaos, weaving past explosions and enemy fire. The energy cannon on the Zathar flagship loomed ahead, its massive barrel charging up, ready to unleash its destructive power. The time for evasive maneuvers was over. The resistance would either destroy the cannon now, or they would all be reduced to ash. Maya's fingers flew across the console as she locked onto the cannon's targeting system. Prometheus, are we in range? Negative, the AI responded. You will need to close the distance to 200 meters to deliver the final strike. Then that's what we'll do, Maya said, her voice unwavering. All ships, pull back. We'll draw their fire. I'll take the shot. Her command was met with immediate compliance. The remaining human ships provided cover, weaving in and out of the alien barrage, drawing the fire of the Zathar forces away from the Prometheus Reborn. It was a desperate gamble, but it was their only chance. Maya's ship surged forward, cutting through the distance at full speed, the Prometheus Reborn dodging energy blasts and debris in a dizzying dance. The countdown to the energy cannon's full charge was almost complete. The space around them trembled as the cannon's power surged. The hum of the weapon was deafening as it reached its peak energy output, ready to fire. Almost there, Maya muttered, sweat beading on her forehead. She felt the weight of her crew's lives, the fate of Earth, pressing down on her. With one last, decisive move, she guided the ship to within 200 meters of the cannon, her pulse racing. The Prometheus Reborn shuddered as it neared the target. Now, she yelled. In that moment, Maya unleashed everything. The ship's weapons, powered by Prometheus's algorithms, locked onto the cannon's critical components and fired in unison. The blasts hit their mark, ripping through the alien technology with surgical precision. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Then, the cannon exploded in a blinding flash of light. The shockwave rippled outward, disintegrating the Zathar flagship's outer hull and sending debris scattering through space. But Maya didn't stop. She pushed the Prometheus Reborn onward, delivering a final volley of fire into the heart of the flagship's reactor core. The core detonated with a deafening roar, sending the flagship into a catastrophic spiral, its remaining crew scrambling in vain to regain control. The Zathar flagship, the symbol of their invasion, was no more. As the last of the human fleet pulled back, the remaining Zathar ships hesitated. Without their flagship, without the central command structure, they faltered. The fear that had been creeping into the hearts of their soldiers finally took hold. The humans had done the impossible, they had struck at the very heart of the Zathar war machine and shattered it. For the first time since the invasion began, Earth's forces stood victorious. The Zathar flagship was gone, reduced to cosmic debris, and with it, the backbone of their invasion force. Across the battlefield, the remaining Zathar ships faltered, their command structure in disarray, their morale shattered. For humanity, the sight was nothing short of miraculous. Against overwhelming odds, against a technologically superior force, Earth had won. Yet, as the human fleet pulled back to assess the damage, Maya couldn't shake the sense of unease that settled deep in her chest. The victory was hollow, bittersweet. Earth had been ravaged by war, its cities reduced to rubble, its people scarred by the brutality of the invasion. The damage to their planet was immeasurable, and there was still the question of what would happen next. The Zathar were not the only alien force out there, and now that they had been repelled, would Earth be ready for the inevitable next wave of invaders? Could they defend their home again? Maya stood on the bridge of the Prometheus Reborn, staring out at the wreckage of the Zathar fleet. The remnants of their ships drifted, lifeless and burned, but it was a small comfort. The alien invaders had underestimated humanity, but there was a lingering sense of dread. What would the Zathar's retreat mean for the galaxy? Would they return stronger, more vengeful? Commander Maya, Dr. Monroe's voice crackled through the comms, pulling her from her thoughts. We've received a transmission from the Zathar. It's a distress signal from their highest command. Maya's heart skipped a beat. A distress signal? What are they saying? Dr. Monroe's tone was grim. They're claiming that this was only a small faction within the Zathar Empire. There are others. Much larger fleets. They're coming for Earth. And they're not alone. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. The victory they had won came at a great cost, but worse still was the knowledge that their battle was far from over. The galaxy was vast, and there were far more enemies waiting in the shadows. The Zathar might have been repelled, but the threat to Earth, and to humanity, was far from gone. We need to prepare for the worst, Maya said, her voice unwavering. Earth has been knocked down, but we're not out. We'll rebuild. We'll make sure we're ready for whatever comes next. Back on Earth, the surviving humans began the long, grueling task of recovery. The world was scarred, but humanity's spirit had not been broken. The resistance had fought with everything they had, and the victory they had won now stood as a testament to their resilience. It was a new beginning, but also an uncertain one. Earth had proven its strength, but Maya knew that the road ahead would be perilous. As the human forces mobilized to rebuild their shattered cities, the weight of their next steps pressed down on them. The galaxy was full of threats, and humanity's place in it remained uncertain. Commander Maya, Colonel Carter's voice echoed in her comms, we've finished the initial sweep of the Zathar wreckage. There are significant traces of unknown technology in their debris. It's not just their weapons, there's something else. Something they didn't use in the battle. Maya's curiosity piqued. What are you saying, Colonel? We're not sure yet, but it looks like they've been scavenging alien tech from other civilizations. We may have just stumbled upon something that could give us an edge over any future threats. Maya's eyes narrowed. The Zathar's defeat was a victory, but there was always more to learn, more to uncover. Keep me posted. I want to know everything about what you find. Dr. Monroe's voice came through again. Commander, we've also detected strange readings on the outskirts of our solar system. A fleet, similar in size to the Zathars, is en route. They're not Zathar, but they're clearly hostile. Maya's heart sank. Another invasion? No. This is different, Dr. Monroe replied. It's a different force entirely. They've been tracking us since the Zathar's defeat. Maya looked out into the void of space, her mind racing. The war with the Zathar had taken everything from Earth, but it had also united humanity in ways that no one could have imagined. They had fought against overwhelming odds, and they had won. Now, it was time for humanity to face the unknown. We've only just begun, Maya said to herself, more determined than ever. The galaxy is watching, and we won't back down. As the humans prepared for the arrival of the new threat, a quiet resolve settled over the surviving resistance leaders. They had fought for their survival, but now, they would fight for their future. The war for Earth was far from over. Humanity had proven its worth, its ingenuity, and its will to survive. But the universe was vast, and it held dangers beyond their comprehension. The fight for Earth was only the beginning.